Hello everyone, JohnJoker12 back here again with another video, and I'm back with another JohnJoker12's top 5 picks. Today I'm going to be talking about Dragon Ball Z once again, but not in a flattering light, more in of a disrespectful light. Previously in my last top 5 I talked about the top 5 overrated animes, and I kind of blew off on Naruto a little bit. If you remember, I kind of went a little too long on a rant against Naruto, and I just wanted to reinforce Naruto fans and just anime fans in general who liked their respected animes on my list that I'm not biased, because that's a big thing with anime fans. Most of them are biased to their respected animes, you know, whether it be Attack on Titan, Bleach, Dragon Ball, you know, all those just crazy animes. Everybody likes an anime, and everybody is biased towards them. But I just wanted to show that I'm not biased for Dragon Ball, because that's the big misconception with fans. A lot of people think just because I'm a Dragon Ball fan that I bash everything that's not Dragon Ball. That's not true. I like various other animes. Just like in that list, you know, I like those animes. I just think that they're overhyped or overrated. I didn't say they were terrible, I just think that they were obviously that. But that's where this video comes in, where I just wanted to reinforce people that obviously I'm not biased, and of course there are a lot of flaws in Dragon Ball itself. So that's what this top 5 is all about. Today I'm doing my top 5 Dragon Ball Z inconsistencies, or flaws, or plot holes, whichever you want to go with. Personally, I'm just going to probably name it inconsistencies. Now, first off, let's get right down to it. I just wanted to make sure that this is subjective. It's my personal thoughts, and plus, you guys don't have to agree with me. And just because I'm saying this doesn't mean I'm not a fan of Dragon Ball anymore. I'm still a hardcore Dragon Ball fan. I always will be to the day I die. I'm not going to stop liking Dragon Ball just because of these inconsistencies. But let's just get right down into it. First off, coming up at number 5, I think has to go to Goten and Trunks being Super Saiyans. This is something that always bothered me in Dragon Ball. It didn't bother me as much when I was younger, because I thought, oh cool, kid Super Saiyans, that's interesting. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense as to why they're Super Saiyans. To become a Super Saiyan, it was a legend amongst Saiyans, obviously. Vegeta tormented himself to become a Super Saiyan. All various other characters tormented their bodies to become Super Saiyans. They all went through incredible angst and critical leaps to become Super Saiyans. Every single character, except for Goten and Kid Trunks. They just magically become Super Saiyans like fucking tricks. It's fucking stupid and never made sense to me. Now, granted, the biggest debate as to whether or not they actually become Super Saiyans is based off their father's power levels. I've heard this been thrown around a lot, that because they're Super Saiyans is based off the power levels of their fathers when they were conceived, which is kind of weird. It doesn't really make that much sense. It's a weird argument. I mostly say that based on the fact that, you know, it's really debatable as to whether or not how strong anybody would be just based off the power levels of the fathers, you know. And plus, you look at Gohan and future Trunks, or Kid Trunks for that matter, regardless, you know. When Gohan was conceived, Goku was super weak in comparison to the Goku we know now, obviously. He was super weak. Same thing about Vegeta. Before Kid Trunks was conceived, whether you go with Future Trunks or Kid Trunks, he wasn't a Super Saiyan yet. So it doesn't make sense to me as to how, you know, Goten or Trunks would be Super Saiyans. And I mean, like, it would make sense kind of for Goten in a sense, mostly based on the fact that when Goten was conceived around, obviously, the Cell Game saga, Goku was like a full-powered Super Saiyan, so it kind of makes sense. But overall, it's a stupid, you know, it's just a stupid debate. And personally, I think it's just weird, you know. It kind of makes, it just never made any sense to me. It's like with characters like Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and Future Trunks, who worked very hard to achieve these powers, Goten and Trunks do it like at a snap of the finger. It's just stupid to me. It never made sense. But that's going to be it. Moving off of that, going to number 4, has to go to King Kai, Always Lying. If you rewatch the anime, King Kai, like, gives a lot of information, and he definitely lies a lot to Goku, which I always found strange as to why he did that. It's just like, why did he do that? It's just really weird as to why he would do such a thing, because it's kind of like from the beginning of the Saiyan saga when we see him to like the end of the Frieza saga, he definitely lies a lot. Like, what the hell? Like, he's supposed to be like obviously Goku's divine, guidance, similar to Kami and Korin and Master Roshi from Dragon Ball, but in Dragon Ball Z he was like kind of like he was that, but at the same time a lot of times he was kind of like a douche in comparison. Like, he's supposed to be like the king of his own realm, and he's like super powerful and all this stuff, but he doesn't, and he's supposed to know everything. But in the anime, when you rewatch it, he doesn't really know that much. And it's kind of weird how he lies to Goku in various stages in the Saiyan saga all throughout the Frieza saga. For instance, lying, the biggest thing, which is of course lying about Frieza. Why did he lie about Frieza to Goku? Like, I mean, granted, you can say that with this argument, it's of course debatable, because of course everything that's post a conversation you have now is of course created later. Because I'm pretty sure Toriyama never has an outline for his stuff. I'm pretty sure he actually said that once. Like, he never has an outline to his stories. He just goes right into it. So I guess it makes sense that things change throughout the manga and anime. But to me, it's just weird that King Kai never stated Frieza's presence and how he kind of lies about him, because he's obviously the cause for the destruction of his race. And also, it's kind of weird how he tries to force Goku not to come in contact with Frieza. And it's also kind of weird, like, after the Frieza battle, that he kind of really doesn't know where Goku is and never really tells everybody else where Goku is. It's kind of like Goku's kind of stuck in limbo after the Frieza saga. It's like no one really knows. So that's like one of the biggest things that really bothered me, is that King Kai, he has like all this information that he holds back from Goku, and he kind of lies to him occasionally, and it kind of just bothers me. Once again, it is debatable as to how I said it prior, but it's just something that bothers me. But moving off of that, going into number 3, I think would have to go to, let's see, Frieza's actions within keeping Vegeta, Nappa, and Raditz alive. That's something that never really made sense to me. Now, granted, if Frieza did not keep those characters around, there wouldn't be a Dragon Ball Z, which is granted. But at the same time, it's just weird that Frieza would keep them alive. I mean, first off, Frieza despises the Saiyans. We all know that. He despises them. And also, he has an incredible fear towards the Saiyans. Of course, the main reason as to why he destroys and eliminates all the Saiyans is because of his ultimate fear of the Super Saiyan legend. But if he truly feared the Super Saiyan legend, why did he keep Vegeta and Nappa and Raditz alive? Granted, without those characters, we wouldn't have a Dragon Ball Z. And also, granted, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would say this, is that the reason as to why he kept them is because he wanted them to be his slaves and whatnot and just continue to do his bidding. But at the same time, you would think that a character like Frieza would foresee the fact that one day these characters might turn on him, which they do throughout the fucking series. From Saiyan Saga onward to the Frieza Saga, Vegeta's main purpose, besides, obtaining the Dragon Balls, is to defeat Frieza. He's had this obsession over overthrowing Frieza, which he eventually does in the fucking Frieza Saga. So it just is weird as to why he would keep them alive. It never made sense to me as to why he did that. It's just like, if you truly feared this person, why would you keep them alive? It's just stupid. But let's move off of that. I've been ranting a little too long. Let's go on to number 2, which has to go to Goku's thought process and actions in the Buu Saga. One of the biggest things as to why I don't like the Buu Saga in comparison to other sagas is because of Goku's actions and thought process. First off, Goku does a lot of things wrong in the Buu Saga. And one of the big things as to why I believe this is that Goku could have defeated Buu at any time. Granted, we wouldn't have the long story that we would have had, but I'm pretty sure that's kind of stupid in a sense, because I'm pretty sure if Goku defeated Buu, I'm pretty sure Toriyama would have created another story or villain to go along with that. So it doesn't make sense. But at the end of the day, I'm all for that type of debate. But that's just my personal thoughts. Personally, I just never got into that fact that Goku at any time could have defeated Majin Buu, and it's also debated, because power levels and whether or not Goku was stronger than Buu, because there's various versions of Buu. But I'm just saying, like, at any time Goku could have defeated Buu, but he continued to escalate the situation, which is weird. And there's various stages where he actually states that he could have defeated Buu at any time. Clear example, Kid Buu. He clearly stated that to Vegeta that he could have defeated Buu in the battle at any time. The only reason he continued to let it go on is so that Vegeta would have a chance in the fight. But it's like, if you had the chance to defeat him, why don't you just do it already? Fuck Vegeta. Fuck, I don't give a shit. I mean, like, the old Goku wouldn't even care about that. The Goku from the Saiyan saga all the way to the Cell saga would not give a shit about letting other people have a chance. The point of being a hero and defeating your villain is to take him out immediately. Because you know what happens when you let situations escalate? Things like what happened to fucking Rick in The Walking Dead happens. Or what happens to Batman in The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight's a good example. You know why? Because in the beginning, Batman doesn't give a shit about the Joker. He sees him as just a ploy and all these things. He's focused on the mob. But obviously, throughout the movie, as the Joker escalates the entire situation in Gotham, obviously he becomes a major threat and has, obviously, Batman by the balls. And that's the same thing Majin Buu has. Like, Goku continues to escalate the situation throughout the saga, obviously leading to Buu destroying the Earth and all its people. So, of course, it's just one of those things that personally aggravates the living fuck out of me, that Goku's actions and thought process throughout this the Buu saga, just personally I did not like. It just pissed me off personally. But that's just my personal thoughts. It's just one of those things that you kind of have to live with. But moving on from that, let me give some honorable mentions real quick. Obviously, there's a lot of plot holes or just inconsistencies, things that people don't like. But the big ones for me are in the Buu saga. A lot of people would say in the Cell and the Future Android and obviously the Cell sagas, they're all riddled with plot holes. But then again, you're dealing with the future and time travel and all that stuff. That's what happens in time travel. It creates plot holes. So it's not something I like to think about. But let's move off of that and go into my number one biggest thing that bothers me about Dragon Ball Z. Is the ending of Dragon Ball Z. I stated in my prior video, top 5 overrated animes, that the biggest reason as to why I was not a Naruto fan anymore, or one of the reasons as to why I didn't like Naruto or consider it to be an overrated anime, is because of its anticlimactic ending. But then again, it's kind of biased if I don't look at the ending of my own favorite anime, which is of course Dragon Ball Z, who definitely has a very anticlimactic ending. It's just one of those things that you have to live with, and it's one of those things that I just personally don't like. It's like, you have something that's really awesome, and then give it an ending that's not so great is just kind of uncomfortable and just weird. It's something that you have to live with, but at the same time, it's also debatable as to whether or not Toriyama will eventually do, per se, a new manga series, which a lot of people have been rumoring. Whether or not that's true, I don't really know, but I don't know. The best way I can say it is that GT, which is obviously an inferior anime in comparison to Dragon Ball Z, has a way better ending, which should say a lot. So I'm just going to leave it at that. So, personally, that's been my top 5 inconsistencies or flaws in the Dragon Ball Z anime. Personally, that's just my personal list. I just wanted to make sure that I'm not biased. I wanted to make sure that anime fans knew right off the bat that I'm not a biased anime fan. Just because I love anime and Dragon Ball to death doesn't mean that I think Dragon Ball is perfect. Dragon Ball has its problems. Everything has its problems. Just like Attack on Titan has their problems and Bleach has their problems. They all have their problems. They're not perfect. So let's just move off from that. But that's going to be it. What's your top 5 inconsistencies in the Dragon Ball Z series? I just gave you mine. But what's yours? what are things in the Dragon Ball Z series that you don't like or just bothers you. And that's going to be it. Hope you guys enjoyed. This has been Dr.